Bobby Lee Hugh, Chief Content Officer at commonsku. And whether you are a current customer or a future customer, today's webinar is brought to you courtesy of us at commonsku and Norma with Lalu. Over 800 distributors powering 1.8 billion in network volume rely on commonsku's connected workflow to process more orders, connect their team, grow sales. So on behalf of our team, thanks for carving out 30 minutes from your day to spend with us. We know what it's like because we are a promo company built by promo, and we know what your world is like in the middle of the afternoon to carve 30 minutes and put down rush orders for a second and come and join us and learn. So thanks for joining us. To get started, we have a few poll questions before we invite Norma on screen. Here's poll question number one. Are you using data to uncover sales opportunities with your clients? Data like reports, the news feed, yes or no? Do you currently use data in your business to uncover opportunities with clients? Any kind of data. Curious what you would vote. And yes, okay, good. Most everybody, 80-20, 80% are, 20%. How about how do you and your team spot client growth opportunities? So that's what we're going to talk about today with Norma. Do you spot client growth opportunities by listening and following your gut instinct, by doing quarterly reviews? Maybe you and your team do quarterly reviews. Do you do annual reviews of each client's performance? Do you do all of that? Pick one or select all the above, or maybe none at all. Love to hear what you think. Okay, a bit of a mix here. All of the above, 40% do. There's folks that do the quarterly reviews. And all right, awesome. Thanks. That gives us some feedback about kind of where you're at in the process. Lalu is a company of 250 employees. So our guest today, Norma with Lalu, they have an incredible promo division. In addition to their extensive experience with large format printing, direct mail, packaging design, fulfillment, and online shops, they have a really powerful client growth model, which I love. And at the center of this model is Norma Arbulu. Norma is a brand experience manager with the promo division whose broad experience and expertise is used to grow key accounts by collaborating with account executives and project managers to guide daily product decisions. Combining her sourcing skills and product expertise, Norma's primary objective is to identify and leverage growth within existing business. This is a very unique role. So welcome on screen, Norma. Hi, Norma. Thanks for doing this. We won't share the details, but Norma came in here into this webinar fresh from a client meeting, and just like you, is putting out fires and handling major accounts and all those kinds of things. But Norma, we have connected with you at SKU many times. Thank you for attending. You're going to be with us in Scottsdale this fall as well. But tell us a little bit about Lalu and the brand experience manager role. Especially, Lalu has about 200 employees and about 25 in your promo division. Is that right?
Yes. So we are a large-scale commercial print manufacturer for the words for the promo people who might not know what we do. We print on paper, and we've been around for 40 years. And the bread and butter is always that side of the business. We have very large-scale clients. So as time had gone on, they started to ask like, "Oh, well, like, can you print this? Can you make this?" And that's sort of how we got into promo. So while most promo companies do it backwards, where they broker and we do promo and branded merch, and then people start to ask you for this and for that, and now you're doing fulfillment and online sourcing. That is where we started. So online fulfillment and shipping and all of that is kind of what we're known for. And then the promo is the newer aspect. So it is kind of interesting because a lot of the things that you have a hard time doing in promo, we know how to do because our company's been doing it for so long.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like
really interesting. Yeah. Probably part of that big migration where the print industries were getting into promo there for a while. Now, you have an incredible range of experience and a lot of depth in this industry. You filled different roles in the business. This is a new one. What is your role as a brand experience manager like? Can you explain what a day in the life is like for you?
Yeah, so my role is to help. I do still have some of my own clients, but most of my day is filled with trying to help our larger key accounts grow their business, infiltrate, see what we're doing, and then also help with acquiring new new business and being strategic about like how we present, what we're presenting, are we meeting the mark, where can we do better, and really just diving in a little bit deeper so that when we are presenting or when we do have an existing client, we're meeting all of their needs from the get-go. A lot of times account executives like they're running big accounts and they're putting out fires and managing projects. They don't really have all that time to be digging in to see like, oh, like should I go after this? Should I do this? Like
Yeah.
the up level. I also come from a merchandising background and I also love to spend time doing a lot of creative stuff. So it's nice to be able to use that for other clients and not just my own. So yeah,
Yeah,
that's
that's
what I want to talk
very
about.
cool. That's a unique role. It's very needed because everybody, in like if you're sales working with clients, you're in the trenches just trying to knock out projects and put out fires and get to the next deadline and hit that in hand date. Whereas you're kind of in this more hovering strategic role where you can guide folks and coach them a little bit. That's a really unique role. Um, let's talk a little bit about, and we're going to get into the details of like how that works with some things like this. For example, we want to talk about commonsku and client growth in your role as brand experience manager. Like, how do you use commonsku to amp your team's sales? Like you mentioned to me, I thought this was interesting. You said, I'm a newsfeed stalker. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. What did you mean by that?
Okay, so I always like say it's like Gen X and everybody. I'm like, if you like Facebook, like let me tell you, that newsfeed will really scratch that itch. Um, I like to do it because you see a lot of things. Like, so for example, a couple weeks back, I had a client who was like, "Hey, I am starting to look for intern ideas. Can you start to put together summer interns for my company? I like giveaways and like onboarding for their interns." And I was like, "Okay." And then I was in the news feed, and lo and behold, like I scroll down, and I see somebody from another team was like, intern swag. And then like I kept scrolling. I was like, and there was another one was like intern request. And I was like, oh, okay, it's not just me. Like now it is officially intern time. So then I was like, okay, I need to
It's
book
cool.
out. But then I also, because I do stuff for the whole team, I was like, okay, like I need to start building out like a shop or something for the whole team in case we have requests that haven't come in. So now they can be proactive and just send out a shop for their
Mm.
clients ahead of time because
Oh,
yes, we have these three requests, but like I also look in collections and I'm like, okay, like that's not trending right now, but it'll happen. So similarly, like that will happen where it's like we're already prepping Pride stuff that hasn't really hit everybody else. Like that's usually like a May
yeah.
request.
Mhm.
But if you really want to get ahead of it and you really want to do like full custom projects, you got to really think way far in advance. And so sometimes you just like see things where you're like, oh, like it's not just one client, it's multiple clients. Okay. Another one is I go through and look a lot of times, like you'll see, like, I'll be like, oh my God, like somebody just put like 100K estimate together. And is it like those are the types of things where it's like we should, if we have like a big project, like, and we really want to present well, like we should be getting ahead of that and it shouldn't get to the estimate stage to find out about it. So
Yeah.
that's kind of where I'm like, okay. So then we go back and like ask them, like, oh, like awesome, like great job. And it's like, oh, this snowballed, like it was this little thing and then it snowballed. And so then we can kind of go back and say, like, okay, like always, like we can come in and try to help you out. But that's another way that I always am on the news feed because you'll see like these crazy things pop up. And then it's like, oh, did we win that? Did we lose it? Like
Yeah.
close. So I think that like for managers, I'm like, you will see a lot of times managers are like a little bit removed and not necessarily in the weeds. And so when you're having your one-on-ones, like you might not even see these projects. They might not even get brought up on your one-on-one, right? But if
Yeah.
you're seeing it, you could be like, oh, hey, like I saw this was on this, you booked this or you did that. Or if you have like large teams and you're like extremely removed, like maybe you're two steps above, you can go in and like a lot of projects. You're like, oh, this person booked this, or like this is that. So it kind of lets you see what's going on without having to be like really in it.
Yeah.
And I just, yeah. And then I also really like to go to the community feed, because people will request things that you had never thought of. And then I sort of will like screenshot it and like file it away because I do have like a pretty like I'm really good at remembering random things. So I know if like I screenshot it, I'll be like, somebody will ask for something, I'll be like, I remember 3 months ago somebody asked for that. So
Yeah.
you'll get like really interesting responses too. So, like I always like look to see like what are people responding? Is there like a vendor that I hadn't heard of? Like just to kind of see what's out there. So, yeah.
That's so cool. So so a couple of things here. You use it to scale, obviously. So you see, like you weren't the only one looking for intern projects, and so you can create a collection or something around that, or create a list of projects for that, or a shop or whatever. Management, of course, can look for those big opportunities. So you can look for those orders that are above X amount. I always love to look for orders that were like above 20 grand or 10 grand and get my attention and just sort of check in or see what that project's about or why is that in the pipeline. So that's cool. And then of course, you mentioned that just for inspo, like
Yeah.
just creating for inspo. That's fantastic. How about with portals? You Portals have greatly simplified processes for clients. So how do you? I'm really curious because you not only coach salespeople, but you also help clients like with the assets that you've created at Lalu. How do you how do you coach client behavior to sort of influence them to use portals?
Right. So I think the easiest one that a lot of times as a user you're not realizing is like we're all signed up for portals. It's called Project Portal. Like every single project has a portal. So whether you're using it or not, it's there, it's active, etc. And so what I do with like my clients is I always like push them to go to the portal. So instead of it being like, here's your PDF proof, it's like your proofs are in the portal. Go approve your proofs. And then when they would request tracking, it's like, your tracking is in the portal. Here's a link
Right,
to your portal.
right.
Uh, just because there's two things. We work a lot in the Bay Area with like tech and pharma and et cetera. And those are people that report into a lot of people and also are moving really, really fast. And
Mm,
so by giving them a tool where they can self-manage, it takes the burden off because what inevitably happens is the client's manager asks for something, the client is like, I have no idea. They're like texting you, emailing you for an immediate answer. And then it's never going to be fast enough. So when you're kind of giving them the tools to do it on their own, they appreciate it and it makes it easier. We also do have a couple clients that have a full client portal and they can review and see. And it's always like the same thing. It's like you get clients that come to you like 3 months later and they're like, my accounting is asking for this invoice. And it's like a mad dash to figure out where the invoice is, what it looks like,
right.
all this stuff. So when you're giving them the tools, like I would say most people, especially like in my age or younger, they want to be able to get it on their own. Like they really don't
Hmm.
want to have to email three people
Yeah.
for it. So that's kind of why I use it. It's to self-manage. And then also it makes it like, it's like everybody wants an Amazon experience. And you go to
Right.
Amazon and you go to your orders and everything's there. So like that is kind of the gold standard of how things are done. It's like that's where we shop all day long. And unfortunately, that's how we have to do stuff.
Yeah. And it sounds like you apply this gentle pressure, constant reminders, gentle reminders to clients over and over. You resist that temptation just to do what they said and point them to the portal because you know in the long run that's going to save them time and you time.
Yeah, I tend to just, I think that I tend to always just like believe like you gotta feel the client to kind of do what you want, and then eventually, sometimes you're gonna do what they want, but most of the time,
Right.
just get them to go because you can't have like tons of clients who are just like off doing everything however they want because you're never going to be able to do more,
Yeah.
So it's like, yeah, like if I'm out here creating, FedEx spreadsheets for every client, like I'm like, that's all I'm going to be doing all day. Like,
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm assuming then if you have onboard a new client, then you're introducing the portals right at the get go. So you're like, this is the normal way to do business with us.
yeah. So normally I'm like, okay, like this is our first project. Here's where you go for this.
Cool.
They're like when is tracking coming? I intro like my PM immediately after they sign a sales order. I say, hey, this is my project manager Diane. She's going to manage everything. She's going to send your proofs. She's going to do all, like I tell them exactly what's happening, and then Diane like processes that, and then she knows like we send the link for the portal, they go and approve their proof. We send the tracking via shipping notification, they go to their portal. Just from the get-go, so that they kind of know the status quo. And some
Yeah.
people are like, oh, well, like we want to like hold their hand and like make it special. And I'm like, you are making it special. How
Right.
many people have the portal? Like, not a lot of distributors have portals.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Something you also mentioned to me was collections. Collections are one of your favorite tools. I thought that was kind of cool, because you also said that you want to encourage suppliers to use them even in a smarter way, which we'll get to. But how do you currently navigate supplier collections to find products fast and to sort of accelerate the sales cycle?
Yes. So I think we all have like our go-tos, right? Like we all have like our favorite t-shirt, our favorite water bottle, etc.
Yeah,
But especially with like clients, you want to kind of show them like extra. Like I hate when I get like a presentation and it's like five things and it just feels like blah. And so I like to add in other stuff, and I like to add it in both directions, like more fun and then like what I say, like more conservative, so that you can kind of gauge where the client ends up.
yeah,
So I tend to build out or copy from like my stack of ready to go stuff. And then once I have like option one of like what I like, I then just go to the collections page and like look to see like, okay, like what's here, what's not here. And then I just go right hand click, add to deck. And then I've added the fluff, and it's not like I feel good about it, where it's like before you always like you do your presentation and you're like, what, it's missing something. But
yeah,
most of us, I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm brain dead. Like there's not much left in there for me to give. Like, so
yeah,
I'm like, okay, like what, how do I add some spice, some flavor? And so like that's what I use. Then also a lot of times if you are getting requests that you've never had before, so the clients that I usually work with fit into certain sort of lanes or demographics, every
mhm,
once in a while they're going to come up to me with something where it's like, I've never looked for a ruler, or like, I've never done, items for a truck driving company, right? And I'm like, guys, go into the present like collections and scroll or like type or like look, and you will find stuff like the other day I had never gotten a request for nurses. This is like 6 months ago. And I literally was like typed in like nurse or like looked through, and I was like, oh, like TechWorld has like a nurses week already. So I just like literally copied and
yeah,
pasted and used that as like a stencil. So there's just a lot of things in there where I'm like, why make it harder? Just
yeah.
go in there.
It's
And
so true.
also, like when I have new sales team members or newer people to the sales side, I like my number one tip is work smarter, go into collections and see what's there first before you start to ask for like, you'll get the request in our team's chat that's like, what do you guys suggest for this? And it's like, go to collections first, build out from there. Before
That's
you send me
good.
a presentation, I always say, before you send me a presentation to review, like, go into what we've done, into collections, go into our preferred supplier list. Once you've done all that, then you can send me the collection, like the presentation to review.
How are you? You mentioned that you probably have a few tips for suppliers. How can suppliers? I mean, most everybody here today is on the webinar as a distributor, but we can record this and send to some of our supplier friends. How can they make collections better?
They, every supplier who works with me knows this is like my number one request. Like, I know it's hard, but go in and the cute little photos that you put in the quadrant, like put those in the actual photos that are in the collections. Because the thing about it is that when you're looking at a white water bottle, they all look the same. When you're looking at a white
Mm,
t-shirt, it all looks the same.
yeah.
And like I will say shout outs to Numo because their collections always look so good. Power Stick also does a pretty good job where it's like those are gonna pop. And so really think about like in a
Mm.
sea of the similar categories, how do you make your things pop? And like the ASI ESP JPEG that filters in is not gonna make you stand out. Like
Oh,
it's
that's fantastic. Yeah, I love that. One thing I wanted to talk with you about, and this is a different take, is the production report. Because one thing you mentioned to me that was important, that you said every salesperson should frequently check the production report. I think in some organizations, when you get larger, production is left to the production team, and you can kind of be so isolated in your silo, you don't hop in there. Why is it important for salespeople to constantly check out the production report?
Okay, so I this is the one where maybe I need to let go, but like at the end of the day, when your client calls you, like, where's my order? You can't turn around and be like, oh yeah, so sorry, my production team like dropped the ball on that, right? So I like to look at the production report to just be like, okay, we're on track, like quick little like glance through, or like if anything's in red, I'm like, oh wait, like is that in red? Like did we let the client know, okay, we're good? Just like a double check because I
Yeah,
always think that at the end of the day, yes, you're a salesperson, but the buck always stops with you. So I just like to always kind of check. And also a lot of times people are your best, your overachievers and your best people are also the ones that are the first people to not raise their hand. So
mm,
if you have a production rep and you're like, oh my God, they have like 110 POs right now. Like that's kind of like, I'm like, wow, like what's going on here? And then you might have another one that has like 20. And it's like, okay, like you can kind of see like where are we at? Like what's going on? Like, is this person okay? Like that's like a sign like there
yeah,
like balls might start to get dropped if we have everything in production right now. Cause like the minute everything starts to ship, it's gonna be like bam, bam, bam.
yeah,
I also like to know like I think that projects kind of run in cycles where it's like everything gets put into production and then it's still and then everything gets shipped out. And I like to just be like aware, like if like do we need to place that order today? Like can it wait a day if like everything's about to like, drop and they have to send out like 20 email notifications? So yeah.
let's talk a little bit about you and sort of your development as a professional in the business, because I think it's fascinating. You're big on trends. You have an amazing style. How does your previous experience in retail merchandising and account management sort of inform your approach to this brand experience manager role?
Yeah, I spent like the first 10 years of my work life in like retail sales management and merchandising. And I think that one of the things that I always like think about is like when you're on a retail floor, like merchandising really, really matters. It's like what draws people in, it's what gets them going. And there's a little bit of that same mentality in what we do. So it's like
Mm,
it really is, how you're putting things together and how you're doing it. So you're like, how do we merchandise that to the client? Like, how do we make a kit look cool? How it's like, is it singles? Is it put together? Is it on a deck form? Like, how does that translate to the client? It's like very similar to how like you merchandise your floor or how you put things together. Or like another one is like add-ons. Like when you're in sales, like in retail, like add-ons are where like the money is. It's like the same thing like in grocery stores.
yeah,
Like add-on aisle, Sephora add-on aisle, like that is like those are money makers. Like that's your 20%. And so a lot
yeah,
of times I don't think that people forget like we're also in a business with add-ons. Like we can add on
mm,
packaging, we can add on like non-branded items. Like there's a lot of add-on that we can do. And
so
if you
good.
were to like just add on a little bit, like if one like every product, like if you could just like add on one thing to 10 of your projects, like that ends up adding on, like that ends up being your 20% for the year or your 10% or your 5%.
Yeah, that's
Like if
fantastic.
you miss your year by like 5%, like what were the add-ons that could have made that happen? So yeah, I always think of like that is like add-ons are the secret that
That's super cool. What advice would you give to someone who is new to this like role, like one, or maybe they're a company that want to create a role like yours, or maybe they're sort of new to an account manager role like yours? It's similar. Yours is a little different, but what advice would you have for them? Like this is a cool role.
yeah. I think it's like to when you're going in to look at something to try to to really like delve into like what's going on. I think it's three, I usually do like three approaches. Like you want to talk to the person who knows the business, right? So it's like, okay, tell me what you know from your day-to-day interaction. and then also dive into like the reporting or to like whatever you have and see where you're at. And then also look at it from like a non-promo, like from the company perspective, et cetera. And so that you can take all those informations and be like, okay, what are the things that we can work on to move like just a little bit? Is it like something that happened in a conversation with the salesperson? Is it something that you discovered when you were in reporting? Is it something like you saw like, oh, this company got more funding for this or et cetera? Like
Mm,
when you bring that all together, you're like, okay, where are the things, like the three things that we can do right now that can make some change?
yeah.
Because a lot of times we're so focused on one thing, right? So it's like salespeople is like focused on this, and then management is like, oh, I want X, Y, Z, and then like the company's initiative, like they all kind of have to align, and your job is to figure out like how to align them in a
Yeah.
way that works, like that will make the client happy, that will make a difference in your revenue, and that will also make it easier for a salesperson to do their job.
Yeah. Since this is our last question, and since you are really big into trends, and that's basically your job is to help spot trends, create trends, and it's a personal passion of yours too. What emerging trends do you see shaping the future of the industry, whether it's brands, product, AI? What are your thoughts?
Okay, so my biggest thing right now is I am really into like quiet luxury out, like bold in your face. And I'm just like, my saying is it's like, say it with your full chest. Like that means branding, that means everything. Like, no more of this like secret little like tiny dot on a like, I'm like, say if your brand cannot say it with its full chest, that's not a brand. Like flat out. Like say we are like gone are the days of the black and white, black on black, white on white. Like we're moving into bold color excitement. Like when you're working with your clients, I'm like, let's bring out all the assets. Like, let's say it full chested, say what you're saying with your full chest, like in everything that you do and also in design. And this is coming from somebody who loved a very inconspicuous logo, but I just feel like the brand storytelling is like where it's at. And we also have to remember that like the other biggest thing is stories and connections are what is going to drive people to buy things in the future. And so if you can tell a story, your brand will do better. And that story has to be unique to you. And the way that things are working, like pop-ups, et cetera, it's all about creating a connection. And that's what we're really here for.
I love it. I love it. Norma, thank you for spending time with us. Hang on us with just 1 minute while we work through this poll real quick. One last poll for folks that have attended. After hearing Norma talk about her experience with data and commonsku, where do you think you can spend more time and energy on as you look at your work year ahead? Should you spend more time in newsfeed, production reports, supplier collections? How would you vote? Where should you spend more time? I know I would probably land, Norma. I would probably used to do big, large company store programs, sort of similar to probably what you're doing. And I'd probably spend a lot more time in the newsfeed myself, I think, as well. So we'll see what the results here. Supplier collections, interesting. That's fascinating. That's super cool. Norma, thank you. You have inspired us. You've been coming to SKU Camp for a while. Lalu is an amazing brand, and you have such a personal passion around trends and all those things. So thanks for enlightening us today with this.
Thanks, guys.
All right. Thanks, everyone. Hope you have a great afternoon. Go put out those fires and land those sales. We'll see you next time.